Hello there and welcome. My name is Jimmy Wigman, and in this video we're going to take a look at assets. And most importantly, we will try to create a custom field for assets that depends on certain criteria. So what we're going to build today is something that a lot of people have requested, and that is how can I show assets that is only related to the person who submits a ticket. So for example, in this case, we will do a custom field that will show only your computers, for example, that is related to you when you're trying to submit a ticket, a support ticket. So let's jump over to Jira and let's build this and see how we can get it to work. So here we are now in the test environment, my test instance. So the first thing that we are going to do is to make sure that we have the data that we need. So we need to have an asset schema first, and so we have some objects there. So we can connect it to the custom field that we want to build. So let's jump over to assets. So in assets here, I have now created something called user assets. And this one I have created using the template for it. So if you haven't seen how that one looks, when you create a schema, then you can actually select this one, IT Asset Management, and then it comes predefined with some values. So that's what I have been using for this example. And what I have done in this one then is I have created two laptops here, and I have added the assignee field. So I've added a specific field because we need to somehow know who owns this computer. And then I have also added some notes, and I've added two. And just to make sure that we can make sure that we filter this one out, I will create a third one. I will create one called not belonging to me. Here we go. So the object here now then is that we have this one assigned to me, this one is assigned to me, and this one is not assigned to anyone. So that means what we want to happen is when someone submits a ticket in the custom field, it should only show then the top two here. So even if we had 10,000 laptops here, it should only show the things that have the assignee here, that is me. And we want to match this then with the reporter field, is the object here that we want to do. So when I come to a form, then it will know that I am the one who's trying to submit. I will be the reporter for this. And then it will match my name with the field here, assignee. So that sounds perhaps a little bit complicated, but it's actually not very complicated at all. So we're going to just show this one. And just for this purpose, we also have a phone here that has the same setup. And I will create one that says, not me, not my phone, just to illustrate that this one actually works. Good, now that we have our objects here, we want to create a custom field for it. And you might have seen my previous video where I showed how to create the custom fields with the data connected to an asset field. And if you haven't, we will do the same thing here again, so don't worry, you don't need to go back and watch that one also. But let's just move over now to our issues here. And let's create a new custom field for this one. So we will create a new custom field. And as always, if you want to create an asset field, you need to click on all, and then it will be at the top. And we will call this, let's call this just employee's laptop. Like so. And normally you would enter, of course, a description, a proper description, so people know what this one is for. I'm too lazy to do that in this video, but always fill out the description so everyone knows what is this field about. And now we can then connect this to one of these workflow. I'm not going to do that. We're going to do that the other way around this time. So last time I was just very lazy and I just added that one. But in this case, we're going to go into the actual project. And we will add it that way into the fields or into the screens the way it normally is done if you already have this one created. So I'll just skip this one. And now what we need to do then is to find this field again. There it is, and please laptop. Just gonna zoom in a little bit so we can see it like that. We go to context and default value because now we need to connect this one. If we try to use this one now, it will have absolutely no use whatsoever. It will always be blank. So the first thing we need to do then is make sure that we set the context for it, and then we need to have the data for it. We go in here, and the first thing that you should do then is edit configuration, because you never want to have a field that is global, and then you select then what project do you want to have this one for. So let's have this one for just a JSM demo project. And then we modify, and then we have connected it. So now you can see it is restricted to this project. It is only for the JSM project. And we could also have limited this one or connected it only to certain issue types if we wanted. For now, I'm just having it as global. And below here now, then we will see then the values that you have for the custom field. And it will say none for everything because we haven't configured it yet. So next up is then to create the fields, and I went through this one with the other video, so I'm not going to go through what each of these do. If you want to see that one, and I'll post a link to it up there somewhere, so you can follow that one if you want. But what we do need is to connect this one then to one of the asset schemes, and we want to connect this one to user assets, and then we want to have we can actually show this one. We want to have the filter scope, then will need to be what data do we want to have in this one. So for us, I should open this in a new link and open user assets, and just to make sure that we know. And what we want to have for this one then is laptops. We can also use hardware assets if we want, but that's a little bit more complicated because then we need to have all the childs below it. And then, as you can see, we will also have servers and printers, and that's not what we want for this one. So we will select only the laptops for this one. So we will go back then, and we will say object type equals laptop. Was it singular or plural? Let's see. It was plural, so laptops. There we go. And if we save this one now, what will happen is you will have a field that will show everything in the assets in the laptop section. And that's not what we want. We want to be able to filter this one so it will only show the things that are related to the reporter. The way we do that is we need to go into filter scope and we need to add some values here. So the first thing we will do is the same thing basically as above. This is where we start. And then we want to have this, we want to have a query then to match this against something. So to do that, we need to have the and. So we say and something else. And we want to have then, the first thing we want to do is to fetch the label or the attribute that we have now that we want to match. And in the object schema, this one was called assignee. So that's the one we want to look for. So we say then assignee. And we want that to be equal to something that is the reporter. So I'm going to actually copy paste this one so you can see it. So what we want to have then is first the $sign will tell us that this is a variable that we are using. And then we are using the variable reporter. This one will fetch the reporter object. So they know that this reporter now is Jimmy, for example, when I'm doing it. And it will be your name if you come in. And then we want to fetch the label here from the attribute. So we say we want to match this one with the reporter name and the label that is set here for the assignee. So if the reporter and the label are the same, then connect them. And then from there, you will fetch then the correct values. And just to be sure here now, sometimes the name of the attribute that you have in assets is it has more than one word. So what we want to do then is we want to have the label of that attribute within the quotation marks here. And the reason for that one is we are now transferring this one. It becomes a string rather than a regular object. So now you can have spaces. So if it was assignee to whatever, that will still work. But if you do not have the quotation marks, that one will actually just take the first one, and it will think that this one is now part of the query, and then it will break. So we save this one and by adding the quotation marks around the assignee label from that attribute. So with this one now, we can now say what kind of interaction do we want to have. So for this one, I will just put a name. So they can search for the name of it, and this is the title then of the asset object. And if I want, I can have multiple things that are showing here. I'm actually not going to add anything here because I don't think you need to, because what you actually add here, I think I forgot that in my previous video, is actually when you click to fold out the information. And in this case, I just want to use the module that will pop up when you click on this one, so we can see the full object information. I can, if I want, to have multiple objects. In this case, I just want to have this one for incident management connected to one of my laptops. So I don't want you to submit it for multiple ones, because that doesn't make sense. You can write 2 if you want, because otherwise it will be difficult to know which of the computers are you actually referring to. So you will have it for one. And if I want, I can have a default object that will be show. That will not be the case for this one. We will just save this one. And now you will see that we have all this information here. So what we can do next then is we can go to our project and we can add this information, and then we can test to make sure that this one actually works. So let's jump over to our project, and we wanted to go to our JSM demo project. And the reason I wanted to go the other way around is because sometimes you have created custom fields and you just want to add them to your product. So what you can do then is you go to Screens, and you will select which of all of these you want to have. So for this one, let's see, we want to have this for incident, for example. And now I can go to incident. And just for the purpose of showing how to add tabs, let's add this as a tab. And we call this one assets. Just, you can call it whatever you want. And in this one now, we will add this new field that we have. So employee. And that's all you need to do. And now this one will be added then to our project. So if we go back to our project again. And if we create now, or maybe we have an incident already. Now we don't have an incident yet. So let's create an incident. And you will see that this one will now show up here. And if I want then to search for an object, you will see that already now I only have laptop 1 and laptop 2. And that is because in Jira it now knows that I'm the person who's going to report. And it will now match my information with the query that we added into the asset field. So now it will actually do that pairing reporter.label. So it will only fetch the 2 things that we have for this one. So now I can select this one and I can create it. Or maybe I need to have a summary. That might be a good thing. And there we have it. Now the reason it did not show up was because I messed up. I only added it to the incident create issue screen. And since this one have 2, then it will not show up when you try to edit it, only on create. So silly mistake of me, I'm so used to having these demo setups that have the same template. So the only thing that we need to do then is to replicate this one for this one, for the view also. So we will add one called assets here. And we will have the employee here. There we go. Now if we go back to the project, it will actually show when you actually try to view it also. So if we go to our incident here, then you will see the tab here. So sorry for missing that one. It is early in the morning when I'm recording this, so I'll blame that always. But now you can see this one here, and what I meant was, normally if you click on this one, if we add more values into it, it will show when you click on this one, it will expand below it. Or you can click on this one, so now I will actually have all the information I need. Everything from asset will now be in here, so I can figure out what should I do with this request. And so let's go back to the asset field again, and let's change it a little bit to use phones instead and see how that one changes. Because you can also, in this one, if I remove this one, you will see that it will still only show laptop 1 and laptop 2. So it doesn't matter where you actually do this, it will always show this one. But let's change this one to phone, and let's add some more data into the view for it, so we can show how it looks when you click here. So let's go back to the asset field again. Oh, sorry, the asset. Let's see. Let's go back to the custom field for it, is the word I'm looking for. But the only thing we need to do then to change this is then to remove the word laptops and instead go in and choose phones. So then we will just choose this one. I will change this one to phones. And this one will be phones. And we will have then the label, the name for this one. We can add model name, model ID, and let's see what else do we have. We can have asset tag, we can have assignee, we can have the, let's see, what do we want to have? We want to have, let's see, the license, perhaps. Do we have anything? No, we don't have a license for it. Let's see what else we have for phones here. Serial number. Do we have anything that's yeah, we have. Now we have something in it. Let's add serial number here also. There we go. And now we can save this one. So if I now go back to our project again here, and let's create a new one just so we don't confuse the two. So it's still an incident that we want to have, and we still want to have in assets here. Now we will have, it still says employee's laptop here because we haven't changed the name for it. But now it will only show the phone. So before we change this one, let's go back to issues and rename this one. So here it says employee's laptop. And so let's change that one to phone. There we go. So now we can cancel this one. We can create a new one. And now we will have the correct name here. And if I search for it, it will only show my phone. And we need to have a summary 2 for this one. There we go. And now if I go into assets here, you will say I have the phone 12E here. So it will look the same as when we did last time. But now you will also see that we have this little expander icon here. So if I click on this one, it will now extend. It will show the information that I added into the second one, which actually will display things for us. And this one will allow you then, if you have a lot of information like we have in this asset schema, then you can select only the ones that are important for you and your team to show by using the lower one. So that would be display these attributes in the issue view. That is the one where you can actually select that one for. But there you have it. We have now created a custom asset field, and we have filtered it to make sure that it will be only fetching the items that matches the attribute that you have in assets with the reporter in this case. And if you want, you can actually change this one to change it to assignee if you prefer that one, or any other label that you have access to. So it could be that instead of the person reporting, it can then fetch things from the assignee instead if you want. But for our example, and the most common one is that you want to have this one, so when someone submits a ticket for you, this one will actually sort things based on the person who submits it. But there you have it. This is how we create a custom asset field and how we can implement it and also how it functions. So I hope you found this video to be informative. And if you want to see more videos like this, then please stay tuned and we will create more ones, or I will create more ones for you. And also, if you have any specific request of something that you want me to make a video for, then please add that into the comments and I will do my best to actually fulfill it. But for now, the only thing that remains for me to say is then that I hope you have an awesome day and a great week.